Hello, welcome back to the channel. So I've had to split this video up because there was just too much, my computer couldn't cope. So this is part 2. And I've actually sat through the interview, Owen Jones interviewing Ben Hunte. I mean,
and senior leaders at the EHRC have literally worked to erase trans rights. I don't even know how else to put it. Like, they've actively worked on cases that have prevented trans people from living their lives.
now the thing to bear in mind about this is that Baroness Faulkner was appointed to lead the EHRC after a period of time during which it was led by a bloke called David Isaacs, who was a Stonewall trustee and, you know, was part of the LGBT lobby.
And just getting on as trans individuals. And this story was, I was incredibly proud to have a number of people reach out to me for this one. I have to give a shout out to Steph's Place, Steph there and Claire, who have done some incredible work digging on freedom of information requests.
I think it's quite incredible that you rely on anybody to send off an FOI request. I mean, there are websites that do it for you. It's not hard, Ben. It's not hard to do this stuff.
Leaking documents.
Again, these documents aren't secret. You can look them up.
And a variety of different things came from other sources as well. And it all came together into this one article, this one report, effectively showing that there's some significant bias happening at an organization that's ultimately supposed to be pushing for the progression of rights for minorities.
Okay, it's not an organization that's meant to be pushing the rights of minorities. It's meant to be enforcing the legal rights that all minority groups have, and women who are not actually a minority. It is not about progressing rights. It's about enforcing the rights that we have, the rights that we have in law. Women have rights in law.
So what the EHRC said, the EHRC got in touch with me in up to just before the show. And they've said on this that, well, they said the EHRC is not anti-trans nor its staff, including its senior leaders. Let me just put the statement up. We take pride in our diverse workforce. They said where rights may conflict, our role is to advise on striking the appropriate balance. And they say we operate an open door policy and listen to engage with all stakeholders and staff whose views reflect the whole spectrum of opinion. So,
you know what would really strengthen your case, Owen, would be if you had an example of where trans rights groups were prevented from meeting with the EHRC. That would really strengthen your case. Do you have any evidence that at any point people have been prevented from accessing the EHRC to argue their case? No, you don't, because they never have. Because they never have.
They're saying, well, we're meeting with these groups, but, you know, we've got an open door policy. What's interesting about your story, though, is, for example, they open up a private line of communication.
The previous chair was involved at board level with Stonewall for 14 years. There's absolutely zero chance that he doesn't have the phone numbers of major players in Stonewall. Zero chance. They absolutely had a private line with him. And, you know, that's okay. I mean, you know, people do make contacts. I trust that any senior level appointment like that, they are going to have to make disclosures when there are conflicts of interest. But it's unreasonable to expect that they don't talk to people that they've met in their life.
And is that the same open door policy which is applied to mainstream LGBTQ organizations which have existed for years?
Let's talk about it. So we know for a fact that the chair, Baroness Faulkner, had personal private meetings with the leaders of organizations who have been accused of being anti-trans.
The women then exchanged phone numbers. The women are talking to each other. I mean, for goodness sakes. This is just misogyny.
And I think I saw so much on Twitter on the day that this came out on Wednesday saying that, oh, but these organizations aren't anti-trans, they're just defending the rights of women. And I was specifically calling out those people within this article. So I can tell that people didn't read the whole thing.
What do you mean you could tell people didn't read the whole thing? Do you think it's difficult for us to read a whole, page and a half of writing?
Because within it, we've showed that actually the stuff that they were saying to the EHRC and leaders within it was transphobic. So we can look at the LGBT Alliance was one of the organizations that was invited to speak with the board. And the LGBT Alliance, I think it was Fair Play for Women and Stonewall. So effectively 2 organizations that have said anti-trans things previously, and one organization that's defending the rights of LGBTQ people across the world, Europe's largest LGBTQ charity organization.
So they were very, very upset about meeting with anti-trans groups. And I find it amazing that these 2 journalists are prepared to go on the record and claim, first of all, that these groups are anti-trans, because I think that's defamation, personally. And to say that that Baroness Faulkner is transphobic, that the EHRC is transphobic. It's an incredible statement to make.
And the LGBT Alliance in this meeting with the board claimed that, let me see if I can just find it. Okay, so they claimed, the founders of this organization called transitioning horrifying, saying it leads to a life of infertility, loss of sexual feeling, continuous medication, and appalling surgery.
But the thing is, what they're saying is what they believe to be the case. And I share that belief. I share the belief that we will look back on this period and these interventions and think of them as human rights abuses. I do not believe that we will look back and look on them as a new frontier in civil rights. And I think it's absolutely right that point of view is presented to them. You know, argue your case. Is it not horrifying? Are we not castrating children? Do these drugs not sterilize people? Show me the data, show me the figures, argue your case. That's the thing. I am happy to change my mind if I'm presented with compelling evidence.
That's transphobic. They also said the NHS is carrying out medical experiments on children, adding, we don't need to go into much detail about all of this because Alastair Henderson on your board will be able to explain all about it. That's transphobia. And this is them speaking to the bosses, the leaders of an organization that's supposed to be pushing for human rights across the country. And then on Fair Play for Women, this is, I think it's Nicola Williams, the leader of that. And she's previously refused to call trans women women, calling them males instead. That's transphobia. Literally, according to the laws that the Human Equality and Human Rights Commission is supposed to be upholding, the Equality Act, that is transphobia.
So my question is, could it be that Ben Hunte is onto something? Is it illegal to misgender somebody? Now, I've had a look in the Equality Act and there's nowhere does it say that it's illegal to misgender somebody. So I am not a lawyer, but what I do know is that there are lawyers with very, very good and accessible legal opinions available online. And one such lawyer is Naomi Cunningham, who has written about the Forstater case. And I do think that she is quite right. So she's saying that the Forstater judgment didn't give a definitive answer about the misgendering question, okay? So we know it's not illegal. If it was illegal, they'd have said it's illegal under all circumstances. So, right, that's that. So she wants to say that she believes that it is reasonable to refuse to comply with requests to use crazy pronouns that don't come to you naturally about people. So she says, I think it is an astonishing and audacious power grab to announce your ungrammatical pronouns and expect others to use them. I think that's perfect. Trust a lawyer to really, really pin down what's going on. Perfect. So it's clearly not something that is clearly illegal to refuse to use those missexing pronouns. And if I was to give anybody advice, depending on their workplace, because obviously some workplaces you get more pressure than other workplaces, but you know, we are priming people for their implicit bias against women by announcing pronouns in our email signatures as women. And I would consider it to be indirect sex discrimination to order me to put my pronouns in email signatures, where I would be quite happy interacting with people without them making a judgment of me based on sex.
That literally goes against the law. So it's scary that, well, some people have said that it's scary that this organization does seem to have a bias of sorts when it comes to trans issues and lives. The other thing I think is worth flagging as well is that as a result of this story, I'm sure we'll come on to the second one in a minute, but the minute that this report went out, my emails were blowing up. My hotline was blinging. The amount of people that were contacting me from the EHRC speaking about their experiences was absolutely wild. And that makes it even wilder for me to see that the EHRC did put out this tweet defending the integrity of their leaders on that same day. I'm not sure if you got that tweet though.
Oh, no, we should have done that actually. Good point.
These are professional journalists.
Oh, no, we should have done that actually. Good point.
No worries.
I'll read it out shortly though. Before we come on to the second story, Alastair Henderson, you mentioned this guy. Who is he?
Yeah. So Alastair Henderson is a barrister. He is also on the board. He was appointed in 2018, I believe. So this is actually before Baroness Faulkner, but still government appointed. And Henderson was involved in the Bell v Tavistock case, the case that ultimately led to the NHS removing gender care from trans young people. I've been told it actually hasn't been reinstated, even a year after that decision was overturned. And it was said that it should never have gone to court in the first place. Trans young people still actually can't get gender care, apparently. I haven't checked into that.
These are professional journalists.
But some parents of trans young people were telling me that they still haven't been able to get appointments again booked through the NHS, which is quite scary. And this is someone that ultimately is on the board of this organisation pushing for equality, apparently, for trans people. The second thing that I uncovered within this report, which is also from documents from Steph's place, was around Alastair Henderson pushing for the EHRC to intervene in the Maya Forster case, a case where a woman was, she found that her contract was not renewed at work as a result of what she said was her gender critical beliefs. She effectively called, I think it was, she called trans women men. And as a result of that, or she said that they're not women. And then it was assistance from the EHRC that potentially could have actually got this case to conclude in favour of people that are gender critical. And it was celebrated by people who are transphobic.
They really have a bee in their bonnet about this Alastair Henderson, as if it's somehow suspicious that a practicing barrister with an interest in human rights law might actually have a practice whereby he is active in cases where people are arguing based on human rights. It seems completely obvious to me that somebody like that would both be attracted to work as a commissioner at the EHRC and would maintain a practice doing this kind of work. Just seems, you know, like a really natural fit. And, you know, I probably, if I sat down and had a pint with this Alastair Henderson, I think I would probably find significant areas of disagreement with him. And I think I would have an interesting conversation with him about things that we did agree on, because I suspect that our reasons for agreeing with each other might be very, very different. And all of that is good. That is good. That is what diversity of thought means. It means being able to tolerate sitting down and having conversations with people with different perspectives. And at the end of the conversation, you may not agree. And that's okay. It's okay for us to disagree with each other. We have to have a society where it's okay for us to disagree and rub along together. That's basic. That's the option. If you want to live in a liberal democracy, that's what it looks like. So that's it for another video. I really hope you liked it. If so, please give me a like or a dislike. It'd be great to see you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Do share the love, share this video with people that you think might like to see it. If you want to support me practically, there's PayPal details in the description box. I'm going to continue to make videos. If you're enjoying watching them, then that's just a bonus. So take care. I'll see you soon.